Tournaments. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast, episode 10 of the Leaderboard, sponsored by our good friends at TwinSpires. I am your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with co-hosts and contest players Noah Maher and Matt Miller, and we are here to discuss many things. But I'll tell you what, guys, first of all, we got to say this. I am so excited to talk about free money. That's right. Everyone heard that correctly. Free money. TwinSpires is giving out on this show tonight. Well, we're giving out, but of course we're sponsored by TwinSpires, and everyone's wondering, Howard, what are you talking about? We'll tell you at the end of the show. This is called a tease, Matt Miller, in the biz. We are going to give out some free money at the end of the show. We'll talk about it at the end with some excellent opportunity to get involved in contests. But before you do that, make sure you not only watch us, but of course listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor, and follow us on X at HHH Racing Pod. Noah and Matt, we just crossed, by the way, 3,500 followers on X. Really appreciate that. Hit that milestone today. Noah, I'm going to start with you. When I first came on, and we're here, by the way, to talk mainly about the recap from this past weekend, and Noah and Jackson, Matt did a great job, and Chris Couples covering for us as I was at Santa Anita this past Saturday, and you had some family birthday obligations, if I recall. But Noah, great job hosting Weekend Warriors this past Saturday. And the contest we're going to talk about this weekend is the $600 Lecomte-based stakes at Fairgrounds. And this is a KD BC qualifier, Kentucky Derby Bag Challenge qualifier, $600 entry fee. We'll be talking about that at the end of the show. But very quickly, Noah, let me go to you. The first time you saw me come on screen pre-show, you said, that was a pretty bold hat you're wearing. Let me tell you something, my friend. I got some good news and some bad news for you, Mr. Maher. And for people that don't know, we've got a lot of NFL fans on our podcast. And coincidentally, Paul Halloran is a New England Patriot fan. Pete Visco, sorry, Pete, he's a Charger fan. They're done. Matt and I have, of course, Bears fans, along with Charlie Freeman. We have some Eagles fans on our show, sorry. But Noah over there is the resident LA Rams fan. Of course, you're from Orange County. I got some good news and bad news, Noah. The good news is one of our teams is going to the NFC Championship game. The bad news for you is the forecast Sunday in Chicago, a high around 10 with wind chills below 0. Noah, those soft SoCal guys aren't going to handle that very well, my friend. But good luck anyway.
Yeah, they're going to have to handle some extra adversity, that's for sure. So far, the wildcard games from last weekend were just a bunch of barn burners. I mean, we got excellent games, and at this point, we can only hope that we get another one, and hopefully things are close and competitive.
It helps. Noah's being, as nice always publicly, Matt, but behind the scenes, we know he gives us a lot of crap all the time. And anyway, good luck, sort of, Noah, but it's going to be a fun game, Matt. Anyway, go ahead real quick. People want to get to contests, of course.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it's a little bit random, but I saw this fantastic piece done by Tom Brady the other day about throwing the ball in cold weather. And for anyone that doesn't understand what it means to come to Chicago and try to throw, he does about a 2-minute tutorial on the tip of the nose of the ball. Really interesting stuff. So go check it out.
All right. Well, Tom Brady knows how to throw anything. Actually, Matt Stafford does too. Of course, he played in the NFC North as the Devontae Adams. Noah could go on forever, and how I'm going to be completely wrong, and he might be because the Rams are really good. Anyway, it's also really good? Contest at TwinSpires, Matt. Let's talk about this past weekend. And Noah, you'll also talk as well here because you hosted the dang show last weekend for Weekend Warriors. Matt, where do you want to start with last weekend's results through our wonderful friends at TwinSpires?
Yeah, so what I do in advance of this show is go back over the last week since the last show we had, and I just look for any notable performances. So I've written down a handful of names. Hopefully these people are listening. It should feel good to hear your name. Henry Carson, Kevin Lux, your name came up a few times. Justin Danley, the same thing. Don Chung, Frank Peros, Ryan Petruniak a bunch of times, Mike Saletta, who's in the chat a whole bunch of times, Greg Lesko, and Steven Zaire. Those are names that popped out from a tournament perspective The other thing that's interesting, and Darren is doing a really nice job on X with this, I'm very much in favor of celebrating good performances and the player. And in some of these cash tournaments they've had, these totals have been gigantic. And Darren has done a nice job in the last week of pointing out, here are the names real quickly. I wrote them down. Matt McJunkin, again, Kevin Lux, and Sam Sample, I think his last name was.
Do you know the particular tournament, Matt, that any of those were in? I could pull it up real quick.
I don't remember which one, but it would be the equivalent of like a $70 Oaklawn tournament or something like that, where they would just turn a $50 starting balance into $2,000. And, you know, with the cool TwinSpires graphics, you know, Darren's got it blasting that it's 2,000 ROI and whatever. Very cool stuff. So you're seeing some pretty big totals from time to time.
Here's one.
There you go. Boom.
I mean, this was a cash entry of just $100.
75.
Started with $75, and Matt Majunkin, my goodness,
boom,
17. He turned 75 into 1733. Hello, and Kevin Lux
losing
71. Not so bad,
right? Wow. How do you lose Kevin Lux with that huge number? I mean, that's just a fluke, and you know, great job to both. So, yeah, that's been fun to see, and it's a nice segue actually, because it'll bring us to then the big tournament of last weekend, which was, as you mentioned, Noah and Jackson hosted a show. We're going to talk about who won. You know, we kind of previewed that being Mike Saletta. But it's interesting to note that for this particular tournament, compared to a comparable one last week, the totals were way lower. Look at the multiples on this starting bankroll of $500, and it took whatever 5 times to get there. And in that cash one, it was a crazy 20x number. So every tournament's different. Noah, give us the recap, and what did you see?
Yeah, well, first of all, we missed you guys on Saturday. I know myself and Jackson and Chris. Thanks again for stepping in. Had a lot of fun, and it was a little bizarre just because that was the first time I had hosted, and there were a couple delays. Like there was I think there was an objection at Tampa, and then they were kind of taking their time at Fairgrounds. So things really got on top of each other, especially with the last like 2 or 3 races that we were talking about. So, you know, it's just fun to go through things. Obviously, hats off to the 5 people that were able to lock up a seat. That includes Mike, who kind of made a little bit reminds me of Cody's Wish in the Met Mile, where he just, you know, exploded, made this huge wide move and circled the whole field, and was able to get that number 1 spot with a pretty good exact. It was El Dinero over Hey Jude in the last race. And we had talked about that race and how Go Sugar was, you know, probably going to be a lean for most people in that race. Well, he ended up scratching. So kind of shook things up from there. But hats off to him and the other 4. Again, like Matt said, it was a little bizarre to see those lower totals in comparison to the one that we looked at before, where people had really had some success and were firing up some big numbers towards the top of the leaderboard. And it just varies week by week. And the other thing that I want to mention before I throw it back to you, Howard, is it doesn't particularly have anything to do with the contest that we're going to be talking about, but we're in a bit of a weird time where people have NHC seats locked up, and you'll have to pay attention to that and have that on your radar, because people like Ryan Petruniak and I believe Steven Zare in this particular contest had already locked those up. So if you're going for certain spots, you definitely have to have that information.
And that's not really public information. So unless they're willing to give it out,
it is. It is. Yeah, you can go to the NTRA, to the NTRA website, and you can see who is single or double qualified.
Oh,
and Noah, it's an awesome point you're making that it might give you some insight into their motivation and how they might play.
Well, how would someone play differently real quick? Either one of you guys, if let's say they already have 2 entries, either one of you.
Yeah. So in this contest, I believe Ryan Petruniak was in first at the time going into the last race. And we were trying to figure out whether he was going to play or not, but he was already double qualified for the NHC. So there really was no incentive to be playing the last race.
I believe, I could be wrong. I believe in these contests where there's KDBC and NHC seats, I think it's the choice of the top finishers. So I think there's 2 NHC seats. And so, Howard, to answer your question, you would fight like hell to be in the position to have the choice if you cared. And the point here was Ryan didn't really care. He couldn't get the third anyway. And so preserving first didn't mean the same thing that it would have meant to someone that still hasn't qualified.
That's very interesting. And the NHC, of course, is in we're on 2 months only. Wow. Almost to the day, I think, actually. Very exciting. And in case people are wondering, Noah and I have not qualified yet. I have not tried as hard this year as I had in the past. I have qualified the last 3 years. Matt, you are double qualified?
Just single.
Single qualified. Okay. And Noah's going to be trying as well. And I don't want to speak for him. I'm not sure how hard. But Noah and I are both would like to go to Vegas, I'm sure, in mid-March, as a lot of our family members are there. Matt, what else would you like to touch on the leaderboard from this past weekend?
Boy, we've almost got this down like we've rehearsed it. All right, so moving off of that tournament, just a quick word on the state of the tour. We are in session 4 of 4. One thing of note is that it's a bit of a longer session. It feels like there are less opportunities for tour points on a daily basis these days than there have been other days. I think that's just a function of the racing schedule and whatnot. The bottom line is that the season long, so you're showing session 4, you can leave it there. So for the current session, Steven Zare, Ryan Petruniak, Kevin Lux, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. I am lurking in 4th and will be doing my best to break into that group at some point. You will see a fair amount of movement, I think, with this session 4 leaderboard. I don't know if you page up or down, but if you go to the season long, that one you see a lot less movement. Those have been the same names in the same places for a while now. Steven Zare passing Brad was the last real big move that happened, and maybe that was a month or 2 ago is my guess. So that's the state of the tour. And okay, just pivoting from there and looking forward, it's a nice full slate of tournaments with with the week coming up, all different price points once again. There are only 2, actually, I wrote this down, for contests where you get tour points. There are only 2 of the ultra cheap variety this time along. So pay attention for those. But otherwise, the contest we're going to be talking about on the next show, Howard, as you mentioned, is the LeCompte. So I'm sure you and Noah have some ideas about plays you'd recommend we make for that. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. But real quick before we do that, because we do have a minute. No, is there anything that stood out about the contest that you covered this past Saturday, other than the winner? Was there an interesting play you wanted to mention, or was there any interesting bets or any tidbits that you can think off the top of your head that are worth mentioning?
Yeah, there was a name in there in the top 5. I believe it was Brian O'Kane, who's a name and a person that I'm not super familiar with. And speaking of Darren putting stuff out on X, he put something out either a week or 2 ago about how many new users they've had, just in the first couple of days of January compared to what they had at this time last year. So, it's just great to see those new names and get that, not fresh blood, but just people that are getting into the from stuff that we're able to do on a platform like this.
Yeah, Darren does a great job. I've been in communication with him today, obviously, with some very important cash voucher situations that we're going to be discussing here at the end of the show. So thanks, Darren, for joining the show. Of course, he says TwinSpires Racing reposted this stream. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate that. We got a lot of people in the chat as well. Like this one, just got home with a day job. That's all right. That's what Kentucky BRL. I don't know what that stands for, but at Kentucky, we'll just go with that. Thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the new people watching. All right, let's get into what's happening this weekend, as I need to go to get off the ended and get to the new stuff here. Sorry about that. Let me, where am I going here?
So $600 is the entry fee.
Yeah.
300 and 300 is the split of cash to prize pool. And I believe it's KDBC seats on the line, valued at $5,000 a piece.
Yep.
All right. So Noah, how are we going to get there?
You want to dive right in? Let's do it. normally we do early plays. This is about as early as it gets. I'm going to take you to race 1 on Saturday. And, TwinSpires did us a favor, but they didn't do us a huge favor. The last couple tournaments, they've had you've had 19 races to choose from. Well, it's only one track, but you still got 13 races that you're able to play. So,
hey, Noah, can I interrupt you a second? I want to just, before we get into real detail, I do want to show people like the broad overview of the card, because this is a really good card coming up at Fairgrounds here on Saturday. As we look at it right now, this is one of these Road to the Kentucky Derby. There's 3 of them total, basically. This is the first one. The next one will be the Risen Star card with a certain horse named Paladin that will be running in a month in the Risen Star. And then, of course, they have the Louisiana Derby after that. So here's the card. Big fields, as always, Noah. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are, I think, 6 stake races, if I recall. Although I only see 5 on the screen. I thought there were 6. I could be wrong. There are 6. I didn't scroll down enough. There you go. 6 stake races, Noah. And some have big fields, some have smaller fields, and there's also monster main special weight races. These days, Noah, are just awesome. This is a very, very good card. Go ahead now. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about the card a little bit in general, just because we were talking a little bit before we went on here, and it seems like we're going to get a big performance from probably one of those firsters in some of those main races, but I couldn't tell you who it's going to be. So I'm going to try to stay away from those and just, go to some races with a little more proven form. The first race on Saturday is definitely one of them. It's allowance horses going a mile and 16th on the turf. I've talked about horses that have been reclaimed before, and this is certainly one of them, with the 9 Right Off Jerry, who gets back into the Joe Sharp barn. Him and Cox so far have just been firing on all cylinders. I mean, if you leave those 2 off your ticket, I mean, you're pretty much doomed at that point. But this one, like I said, gets into the back into the barn of Joe Sharp. Jose gets back on him once again, and there is some speed. There's not a ton of speed, but if you look at his races carefully, when Jose's ridden them, he's always kind of done a pretty good job of not leaving him too much to do when they turn for home. So I would hope Jose is able to kind of replicate that and do the same thing. I thought you could make some excuses for some of the dirt races that he's got on there. The Kentucky Downs Try was just, not one that you would put too much stock into. And then even the Keeneland race, I mean, Chapman's Peak went wire to wire that day, so there wasn't really a ton of running from the back. So there were just some races on his page that I thought you could give some excuses for. First off, the claim, obviously, for Joe Sharp. I think he's got a big shot if things do heat up front.
And something to mention, no, you said it's allowance race, and you're correct. It is an allowance race, but it is a starter allowance race. And that's important from handicapping purposes, Matt, because you can only be in this race if you were up for 30,000 at one point. So these kind of starter allowance races, Noah, I don't know if you feel the same way as I do, but I give big advantage to horses that have been in open company N1Xs like you see on the screen here, and not in starter allowance races, because the starter allowance races in theory are a little bit easier than the straight allowance races where those horses have not been in for the tag. So it's a little subtle class angle to look at in these races.
Oh, completely agree. And to your point, I think Right Off Jerry's definitely been in some good races, even though he's not made much noise in some of those. Like I said, I think he can make some excuses. So I think it's a really good spot for him.
Yeah.
All right. So a question for you, Noah, a little bit unanticipated, maybe. So this is obviously a closer, and you talked about, the hope, obviously, for the pace heating up. If you were playing 2 entries in a tournament and liked this pick for one of them and wanted to hedge your bets or, play it a little differently on the other entry and take the best speed, is that an angle you recommend? And if so, who do you like?
Oh, absolutely. If I've got, two per se bullets in the chamber, I think it's very possible that he finishes second and doesn't quite get there. I would definitely use the 4 who just actually beat him last time, and that's a horse that's first off the claim for Diodoro, if I'm not mistaken. But I would use some horses that obviously have big chances and maybe could kind of get that head start on him. And the 4 would certainly be one of them. I'd have to kind of go through and maybe work out, how many I could afford, like a 4 over 9 and whoever over 9. But that's definitely something that I recommend.
No, would the 4 be the rock in the shoe of Right Off Jerry?
Why do you say that?
Well, that was a wonderful analogy you used 2 weeks ago
That was
on the
terrific.
show.
Was
We
it?
enjoyed that.
Who did I use that for?
Those were your words.
Those are
Really?
your words, my friend. Correct, Matt? Right?
Yes.
Yes. We
Trying
both
to
chuckled a
remember
little
who I
bit
said that about.
in amazement, not making fun. You were like, wow, that was a good one. Now he doesn't even remember. I thought he was going to laugh, Matt. That whole thing, that whole little bit just blew up in my face.
Geniuses. What can you make of them? I don't know. They can't
I don't
remember
know.
anything.
Done too many.
I want to pivot to race 5 and 6, and I'm not suggesting to anyone that you should play these, but Noah, you had a nice score last month in a race where you thought there were two maidens that stood out, and one of them won, and coincidentally, one of them is running on this card again, and it's a horse I like, which we'll talk about in a minute. Race 5 is straight maidens for the girls, and there are some serious pedigrees in here. And I'm not going to deep dive because it's not really a handicapping show, but I would mention some spots. The number 10, Just Bluffing for Greg Foley. This is a very fast Mitoli filly, guys, on paper. How about 47 breezing from the gate? Best of 107. I mean, we cannot look at works, Noah, at fairgrounds. They don't have those available, although I do have some connections I can look into, but Kevin Kilroy and some others. But I'll tell you what, guys, if Just Bluffing is taking money, I could see people not bluffing on this horse and actually playing a big play. Love and Trust, the 12 for Jose, a Constitution filly. And you, before the show, you mentioned Cherie DeVoe might have a big day. I don't know if this is one of them that you were thinking of, but some very fast works. There are some very talented runners in race 5, and I'll talk about race 6 in just a second. Let the board be your guide here, Noah.
Yeah, and actually, Cherie's got 2 in there, and if I were to bet anyone, I think it'd be the other one because I do think that race that she's coming out of at Keeneland is pretty live. There's been a couple runners that have come back and won, and I've been fortunate enough to cash on that. And she didn't break at all in that race, and then rushed up, and I still thought finished pretty strongly. So even though it's Pratt and Jose, even though Jose's kind of her guy, I mean, you get Pratt, so obviously you're not going to complain.
The other race, the next race, I jokingly said before the show to Matt and Noah, ladies and gentlemen, that I thought the best 3-year-olds running on this card Saturday might not be in Lecomte or the Silver Bullet Day and might be in the maiden races. That wasn't dissing the horses that are running. But I'll tell you what, the boys version of the same race we just talked about, the next race, race 6, the number 2, Guns Allowed, has some nice works. This is a gun runner trained by Brad Cox. Might want to go a little bit longer. The horse that really caught me just off the top of my head is this. Here we go again. Cherie DeVoe, Flavian, $500,000 essential quality colt out of the damn Spanish Star. And you're like, who's Spanish Star? Look at the horses that a Spanish Star, guys, has dropped. Kilwin, really nice, fast stakes horse. Look at that, Matt. One-timer, a horse we know very well, Larry Valley. Just Basking, who was a distance horse, but that horse was by Arrogant, so that's probably why. Paso Doble, I know wasn't a runner, but just was fast early is my point. Guys, I got a feeling, I don't know how to pronounce the name, so I apologize. It could be Mohawker, or let's try Mohakar, I'm assuming, for Belladonna Racing. No, this one could be serious. We'll see. Look at these works. I mean, my goodness, guys.
Yeah, and there's a lot of horses that are kind of like that. I don't even know what race it is, but it just goes to show you, how many potential, very good firsters that we could see on Saturday. Somebody in one of those races is a fool to charge it, and I don't know who it is. Maybe somebody in the comments.
It's the 2.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's why I thought maybe this one wanted to go longer.
Or maybe
I thought it was. I was wrong. Sorry.
I thought
there is one in here. Yeah.
I can't remember who it is, but like I said, I mean, you've got so many pedigrees that are just like that. I mean,
I don't remember now.
You could see some big efforts on Saturday.
Yeah, might have been the filly in the previous race. I know what you're talking about. Anyway, let the board be your guide. Matt, we've talked about this before. Look, a 2-to-1's a 2-to-1, an 8-to-5's an 8-to-5. You've mentioned it doesn't have to be in a stake race. I mean, Noah's put his life on the line, so to speak, with maidens, first-time starters. I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not sure I would if I was in this contest, but you got some intel. I mean, why not, Matt?
Why not? You got to look at the card. Look, it's a tournament, so that last race has special importance. What you do before that to get to the spot you want to get to is based on your opinion. And as you look through the rest of the card, you may get to these maiden races and say, wow, I'm going to be getting 3, 4, 5 to 1 on what could be a monster. Or you might look at these and say, oh my gosh, I can't figure this out at all. I'm just going to pass and I'm going to see what happens. And so, yeah, just form your opinions, look at all the races and zero in back where you think you need to. But you're right, Howard, 2-1 is 2-1. That could be a 30 claimer or a maiden special weights.
Yep. We have hundreds of people watching now. Thanks for joining the show. Noah Maher, Matt Miller, yours truly, Howard Kravitz. The leaderboard. We're in double digit, guys. Episode 10, talking about the $600 KDBC Lecomte stakes-based contest through TwinSpires this Saturday. Chris Couples made a good point, Noah. Yeah, a lot of these horses worked in other places. If they worked at Churchill, you can find the works or anywhere in Kentucky. You can find the works through a Kentucky website. My only point, Noah, is I don't know about you, I prefer to look at most recent works, and a lot of these horses have been working locally. But certainly, if you just want to watch the horse and see some of their earlier works, or even some of their later works, depending on if they just shipped in, you can go to that Kentucky website and look at their works if they worked anywhere in Kentucky.
Completely agree. And that's why I feel like it's kind of a shot in the dark when you've got works at fairgrounds and you're not able to watch them. And I haven't heard an update about, because we have been able to see that before. I think last year they were on that same website, and now you can't really see them. So
I have some intel, but I will keep that to myself
okay.
as to why. That's just a decision that Louisiana has made. It's a partially related to HISA. I'll stay away.
The point is for me, like, you're kind of taking a shot in the dark anyways. Like, you only got so many resources that you can use for first timers, and once that's taken away, then you're kind of really guessing at that point.
Let's go to race 10. No, this is another spot later in the card that you might consider, everyone. This is the Silver Bullet Day. This is points for the Kentucky Oaks. It's the girls' version of the Lecomte, which is the last race of the day. And there's a horse you're interested in here. Now, this is, I believe, Noah, the smallest field of the day, and it's only 6 horses. So, Matt, there you go. I mean, it is the 4th to last race. It's not the end of the contest. This might be a race people want to take a chance on. Before I get to that, I will mention, I believe I saw the rails are down on the turf Saturday. That usually helps inside speed. It also allows horses to close from far back. I know that sounds hypocritical, but the fresh part of the turf course is the inside, is all my point. And there's more room to close from deeper. So I just wanted to mention that. What horse are you thinking of here on the Silver Bullet Day, Noah?
The horse right there, the one Atropa. 2-1, I think, would be a gift. Frankly, I think she lays over this field. She ran a pretty bang-up second to Bella Ballerina last time, who I think is going to be a pretty good filly for Brendan Walsh and Godolphin. She was one that broke her maiden at Keeneland, same with a horse that you're looking at right now. And in that race, she got a little goofy with some lead changes kind of at the 16th pole. And I thought if she didn't do that and was a little more professional, she had a chance to run her down or at least make things close on the line. I know she only lost by half a length, but I thought that race last time was a pretty big effort from her. Obviously, it's Jose and Cherie. So number one, you don't know what kind of price you're going to get. But number two, I mean, I would expect them to have a pretty big day. So if she gets a trip, she's going to save all the ground in a small field. I think she's going to be really tough.
There are some younger, not younger, they're all the same age. There are some horses that are lightly raced as well, the 3 and the 4. I don't feel quite as strong as you do, but I understand what you're saying. And Atropa will be the favorite most likely in that race. I'd be remiss, no, if I didn't go back to race 3 before we talk about the plays at the very end. Race 3 is an allowance race, ladies and gentlemen. There's a horse. If this horse is in this race, Matt, I would absolutely use this horse a lot. And it's number 3, Thunderbuck. Now, Thunderbuck in race 3, Matt and Noah, is cross-centered in the Lecomte. And I got to tell you what, guys, if this horse is in the Lecomte, I don't think he's out of that race either. So if he goes in the allowance race, and there are various reasons why he might, I'll tell you what, guys, Thunderbuck, I think, would be very, very formidable in that spot. Race 3 at Fairgrounds, that would be my early play. But again, we're not going to know if he's in that race, guys, until race day. You could also say, though, it's really interesting as we go to the last races. I don't know how you guys feel now that I say that. Would you be slightly less confident? Because if they were confident, they'd go in the Lecomte. I sort of feel the opposite. They're like, okay, maybe this horse is not stakes ready. Let's put him in an easier spot where he's quote, guaranteed to get a W. I wouldn't mind that from a contest perspective. Your quick thoughts on that thought of mine?
Look, he's I think if I'm looking at this right, he's 6-1 in the morning line in the stakes race.
Yes.
And so, here's one thing I don't think. If the horse isn't sound, if the horse isn't right, if it doesn't feel well, they're not going to run it. They don't run it in the lesser race. And so the horse is going to be fine if it's running. The question is intent. And as I look at this Lecomte field, this seems like a wide open race to me. And
Yes.
so unless they're really afraid of one particular horse or a couple of horses, my guess is that they would be inclined to go here and not to the maiden race. I honestly, to answer your question, Howard, I don't know what it would mean if they opted for the maiden race. I would feel like they were ducking someone here, but I'm not sure I see anyone here worth ducking.
I totally agree with that. Let's get on the last three races. And no, I think my opinions might be stronger than yours for the simple fact that you said race 10 is sort of your play. I'm going to very quickly go through the last three races. Race 10 is the Colonel Bradley. It's 100,000 for older males. By the way, shout out to Crownsway Racing, who's got two horses in this race. They've got Vote No, the number 6, and they've got Otago, the number 11. I don't think either one of them has a great shot to win, but I wish those connections much success. The horse that I would point to here, and this would not be like an all-in kind of play, maybe more of a minimum kind of play late, guys. I think Laganos is not going to be 7-2. And I think he's clearly the horse to beat here. I know it's a big field. It's a turf race. This horse has numbers all over the place in graded stakes. He wasn't beating Wolfie's Dynagos last time, no, and no one was beating him. He broke a track record at Gulfstream in the following race. He actually closed pretty well, Laganos, in that race. To me, Laganos will be more like 2-1, ladies and gentlemen. That would be a play that, maybe not as obvious as some others, which if you're a yin-yang kind of guy and you want to be a little contrarian, that might be a good spot to take a shot at. The penultimate race on the day is the Louisiana for older males. And there's a horse that I have been chasing for a while. When I say chase, sort of been upset because the last two trips, Noah, that Just a Touch has gotten in his last two races have been completely insane. I single him like almost everyone else in the Monmouth Cup. I mean, duh, the horse was 10 cents to the dollar, but got let's just say a interesting ride, fun flow. And then in the Met Mile, same thing. I thought it wanted him to go to the lead. He wasn't really sent. I think this is a very, very talented horse, and he's 8-5 in an 8-horse field, Noah. I'm guessing this is going to be a lot of contest money on this horse. My only concern is where has he been? But now it's IRAD. This could be a all-in shove for a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know how big it would be, but the concern for me would be that I don't think he's going to get the lead because I think the horse that's inside Willie D's is going to be pretty hell-bent on doing that. But he's very capable. I mean, he's very capable of just, sitting a half length off of the 7 and going by whenever he pleases. And he does get Lasix back, which is, I think, something that people overlook with the graded stakes that they have down in Louisiana, which I think is a big thing and something that doesn't get talked about really a whole lot.
No.
And it's worth noting, this horse shows up every time, right? 9 starts, 3 wins, 4 seconds, 1/3. I mean, that kind of consistency is pretty fantastic.
By the way, 4 of the 6 races at Fairgrounds are be covered tonight on sorry, I'm stumbling. 8:30 Eastern on Benton and Boozin. So check out our show tonight, 8:30 Eastern, hosted by, of course, Kyle Roscoe. They're going through the 4 undercard stakes, and then tomorrow night, Thursday night, at 8 p.m. Eastern, Picks and Ponies, myself, Pete, and Paul are going to go through the last 2 races, including the one we're talking about in detail. So if you're a contest player, you do not want to miss that. We're also going to talk about the Eclipse Awards, by the way, and who we think should win some of the key divisions. The Lecomte, very quickly, we said is completely wide open. Noah, there's a horse that you and I both know well. I don't know how good Golden Tempo is going to run on Saturday. I'm going to let you talk about this one because I know you have fond memories. This could be one of these up-and-comers for Cherie that may be a major factor. I don't think we're getting 8-1, though, in the Lecomte. In fact, I would not be totally shocked if he's the favorite on Saturday.
Yeah, I'd like to have what people are smoking if they go out there and think that they're going to get 18 in this way, because like you said, I don't really know who he beat last time, but it was just a very sexy performance, and I think people are going to go to the windows and bet this horse. Not to mention, like I said, Jose is Cherie's guy, and she's got 2 in here, and Jose decides to go to this one, and I kind of mentioned it when I talked about him, what was that, a month ago or whatever, where you probably want him next out. Well, he was so damn good first out that I don't see any reason why he can't step up big second time. So like you said, it's very possible that he could be one of the more likelier choices in here, and I don't discount anyone backing him again.
What's up, Eric Walker? No tardies, no detentions here. We welcome everyone, whether on time or late. We're just happy. And there's Thunderbuck, Matt. Like you said, we talked about him in the allowance race, 6-1. I know some people are interested in Mesquite on this podcast, who scratched out of the prep for this race, and another Cherie runner. Wow, Flavian's on a lot of Cherie horses. I'll tell you what, the last race is difficult, Matt. And I don't know if I'm playing this weekend in the contest or not, but whether you are not at home, you might want to consider an all-in play before the Lecomte. I know you're probably going to have to play the Lecomte anyway, but it's a big field, and I think the favorite, Matt, is going to be like 3-1.
Well, let's do this. Let's flip up the tip of the week and switch it to this exact spot.
Okay, and then after this, by the way, we will give information on free money and a code. Do not go anywhere. We've got hundreds of people waiting. Like, come on, Howard, just say the code. After Matt's tip of the day.
I'm going to make them wait for 30 seconds.
Go ahead, Matt.
For what I think is a good idea. So look, we talk about it all the time. The last race of the contest is critical. You're looking at a last race of the contest that's really, really hard. And so in my view, this is a great opportunity to go back to basics, do some basic target setting for what you want to do this tournament. Remember, this is a $300 bankroll. And so you're looking probably at a multiple of 10 to 12x. You don't need the $4,000 number that goes with a $1,000 tournament. So the bottom line, though, is when you get to the last race, it's really hard to sit on your hands and do nothing. And so my recommendation for a race like this, it's funny, you see me going to my iPad, is I'm going right back to race 12. I'm looking at my pick, which is Just a Touch. And I'm planning on a few daily doubles into this last race that will at least move the bar a little bit if I hit. I don't want to single someone here. I don't want to pound someone here. But if I can get a few doubles going that are enough to move my balance a little bit, okay, if I'm in a nice position in the tournament to do that, that would be a good way to do that. I don't want to fire a whole bunch of money independently into a last race. And I think using the double pool, if there's a horse you like in the prior race, is a good way to do that. All right, let's give away some free money.
I agree. All right, so here's how this works, ladies and gentlemen. This offer, now, if you're listening to this on our audio listens, you want people to go to our YouTube channel. So we are actually not going to say it out loud. You're going to see it on the screen. If you're listening to this, you're like, oh, man, just go to about the 40-minute mark, the 40-minute mark of this video, and you'll see it on the bottom of the screen. These are free contest vouchers, and they are only for first-time contest players. So if you've already played in a contest, I'm sorry, this does not apply to you. If you have a complaint, talk to Darren Zocali and win in TwinSpires. So this is for first time. They're trying to grow the contest play, obviously. This is for first-time players, but I'm sure everyone at home, knowing Matt, knows someone who has a TwinSpires account who's never played in a contest and wants to get interested. This is from, you can do it either on your phone or on, you can go to your laptop or your tablet, whatever. It doesn't have to be on your phone, obviously. What you need to do, and this is from January 14th today to February 14th. This lasts for 1 month. It is a one-time only $30 free voucher / coupon for any tournament. Congratulations to TwinSpires for coming with this idea. Again, first-time player for the next month until February 14th. Any contest, $30. Here's the code on the screen. We are not going to say it. Boom. There it is. It's on the bottom of the screen. It has nothing, unfortunately for our millennials, it is not the numbers 6 and 7 and 6 and 7 back and forth. Sorry, millennials. But you can see the discount code on the bottom left-hand side of the screen with the 41-minute and 30-second mark of the show. It's good between, again, January 14th and February 14th. Now, where do you do it? Don't leave the show if people want to know where do you do it. Let me bring that up real quick. All you do, here's on your computer, you go to where it says offers on the top. You go to offers on the top bar there, and then go to my offers. And then all you do is you put it in this offer code right there. You see on the screen, just put in the particular code and the offer code, and that'll take care of it right there. It's really simple to do. Now on your phone, real quick, on your phone, I'm going to go full screen so people can see this well. If you want to do it on your phone, ladies and gentlemen, here's TwinSpires right there. Again, you on the bottom of the screen, I don't know if you can see it there, on the bottom of the screen, there's an offer button. Hit the offer button on the bottom of the screen. And when you do that, then you need to go up to the QR code. There's a QR code right next to deposit. Press that QR code very carefully, and it takes you to this screen, ladies and gentlemen, and then you just put the offer code in right there. So again, if you're going to use your phone, press offers at the bottom right there, and then there's a QR code right there. Don't hold it up to the camera. You literally have to press the QR code, and that will take you, as I'm doing it right now one more time, and that'll take you to the offer symbol right there at the top, or the offer space, and that is where you do it. I think it's pretty simple. Again, first time only. There it is on the bottom of the screen. One more time, bottom left. That is the code for $330 in the TwinSpires contest for you first-time contest players. Matt?
And I'm just looking at the schedule, and that $30 is going to take you a fair amount of the way. There's tonight a $40 contest. Thursday has 2 different $50 contests. So, right, you don't have to start with the biggest one out there. Start with something small. And this is a standing offer really to everyone that watches this show. DM me on Twitter if you've got questions, if you've never done one of these, and if you're looking for some advice. Genuinely, this is like my favorite thing to do, is to help people and talk to people. So if you're really looking to get into this stuff and are just a little unsure of how it goes, I'm more than happy to help.
And again, obviously we're sponsored by TwinSpires for this show, and I enjoy covering, but hats off, Noah, to Darren Zocali and the crew. These contests are growing tremendously. We'd like to believe that we are a part of that growth, and offering $30. I mean, look, people say, it could be more. Look, it also could be $5. It could be $10. $30, like Matt just said, Noah, almost gets you into a free contest. You could turn that 30 or that 30 into several hundred, into literally several thousand. That is not a stretch, Noah.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you can try to replicate what we saw with what was it, Matt McJunkin and Sam, what was his last name, where they were able to turn a pretty small amount of money into some big winnings. So yeah, just great to get some new players, and it's great doing this, because hopefully, we'd like to think that we had some part in some of that.
Absolutely. So there you go. Again, if you're listening, you want to know what is the code, what's the code, watch the show about the 40-minute mark. We talked about it, and it is not 676767. Sorry.
We tried.
By the way, I didn't create it. Darren created it. I was hoping it might be like the Bears 26, or, another suggestion I made, Matt, would be Paladin.
Yeah.
Didn't go with that one. He went with the one he went with. Anyway, final thoughts, Matt, as we wrap up the leaderboard, episode number 10. Exciting contest this Saturday. The LeCompte $600 KDBC.
Just a bit of a reflective comment maybe on the week. This isn't, we're entering Derby prep season, which is nice. We're kind of exiting a pretty quiet time. I got to say, these tournaments have made betting the races a lot more fun than they would have been otherwise. So I look at these as individual little contests and challenges, some of them not so little, but it's really made betting the races a much more enjoyable way to do things. So take it for what
Agree. We thank everyone for watching Weekend Warriors ? This Saturday. Please go to our YouTube channel. We have some conflicts. Plus there's NFL going on. I don't know if we're going to have Weekend Warriors this Saturday, but I almost guarantee we will have Weekend Warriors on Pegasus Day. As there's going to be contests through TwinSpires, I'm sure, that weekend, including, by the way, a NHC qualifier, if I recall, looking at the schedule. For my good friends and contest players and co-hosts, Noah Maher and Matt Miller, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 10 of The Leaderboard. Crush your bets in the LeCompte contest. Maybe use some of that free $30 if you're a new player. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.